Hi everybody, and welcome to the first video on HTML. So we now start a portion of the course that's dedicated to building web pages. So we're going to finish the course by spending 2.5 weeks simply building a personal or professional web page. Before we move on though to web programming, I just wanted to make a few concluding remarks about the C++ portion of the course. So at this point now, you've been doing C++ for about 12 weeks. And I hope there are a number of things that you've gotten out of that. The first thing that I think you've noticed is that C++ is difficult. Okay, learning a programming language is just difficult. There's no getting around it. I suppose if you were just a algorithmic savant or something, then you might not have trouble with the programming language, but even if you have past experience with something like MATLAB or things like that, C++ is hard. So you've spent 12 weeks now doing something hard, and I hope you've gotten several things out of that. The first is that I hope you now see that computer science is not some sort of like robotic nerd thing, right, where you just sort of sit there and number crunch or something. Computer science and programming in particular are creative activities. And so I hope that you've seen that. I hope that you've seen it as almost a creative outlet. There are just many, many ways to do things, especially when you're talking about a game or something. And so, as I've told you a few times, I actually view this course as a course in applied creativity and applied problem solving. And so I hope that you have seen your ability to be creative sharpened and your ability to solve problems sharpened. I hope that you've gotten those sorts of things out of this course, besides just learning C++. I mean, learning C++ is important because it's part of the course, and also you need to learn how to program if you're going to do something like engineering or physics. Okay, so C++ is of course important, but globally I just see C++ as the vehicle through which we sharpen our creativity skills and our problem-solving skills. Okay, so that being said, you should know that the work you have produced in this difficult subject is good. Okay, as a class, you guys have produced good work. And I hope that you're proud of the work that you have done, in particular the group projects. I haven't graded them yet, but I've glanced at them, and they're quite good. But beyond that, the homework you guys have turned in is good. And the homework was hard, wasn't it? And the group project was hard. But you did, as a class, well on those things, and you should be proud of the work you've done. If you're not proud of your work, at least I am, if that means anything to you. I mean, I can't wait to take your group projects and throw them in the face of Dr. Martin or somebody and just ask her, what have your students been doing? What's so great about your students, right? Look at what my students have done. Okay, so C++ is difficult. If you are comfortable with C++ and you are comfortable with computers in general, HTML is not difficult. It's not trivial, so I don't want to imply that you will have no trouble with it or something like that. But compared to C++, HTML is not hard. So we're sort of going to be taking a breath for the next 2.5 weeks. Building a static web page is just not nearly as difficult as programming the LOL game or something, or the grid game, especially when you have to teach the computer how to be intelligent. But that's what we turn our attention to now. So let me just make a few introductory remarks. The first remark is, don't memorize anything about HTML. If I see you memorizing something, I will fail you. Okay, I'm serious about this. And the reason is because you're not going to be examined over HTML, at least not on an exam. You'll turn in 2 homeworks over it, but of course you don't need to memorize things for homework. And HTML will be part of the final exam, but the way the final exam will work is the in-class portion will count as 75% of your final exam grade, and that in-class portion will be C++. The remaining 25% of your final exam grade will be a website you've built, and as long as you've built it to the specifications I say, then you just get full credits for that. So the final exam will be worth like 200 points or something. 50 of those points will just be this website you've made, and all of you should get a 50 out of 50 on it because you just need to build a website to my specifications by the time we take our final exam. So don't memorize anything. It's not worth memorizing HTML. A resource. Okay, so with C++, we didn't have a textbook, and I didn't give you any resources. Google is sort of the best resource, but the material that I showed you, I just sort of know. And at some point I learned it from various books or various C++ forums or something, but I didn't have a single resource to give you. Google is a good enough resource. It turns up all sorts of forums that you can troll through if you want to, and several of you have done that sort of thing. For HTML and CSS, web programming, the best resource that I have seen is this w3schools.com. It's very intuitively laid out. I mean, unsurprisingly, it's a well-designed website, right? Sort of should be. Here's what it looks like. The reason I like it is because their explanations are clear, and I mean, it's short, concise, clear, to the point. And one of the main reasons I like it is because there's this try it yourself thing. And when you click on it, a window like this pops up, and the code is over here, and the corresponding web page is over here. So you can tweak the code right here, and the changes will appear over here when you click See Result. So for example, if I erase this, See Result, oh, that text is gone, So I like that. That's pretty nice. And the other thing is that it has little, I guess this page doesn't, but let me go to a different page. At the bottom there are usually exercises. Let's see, this one doesn't either. Okay, well, it's making a liar out of me now, but many of the pages have exercises at the bottom, and the exercises, oh, I have one open. The exercises look the same. You just edit the code they give you to achieve a specified goal and then see the result on the other side. And this little show answer thing here, if you, so I don't know if you notice, I'll hide it and watch stuff disappears, right? So anyway, it's nice because of all of those features. So that's where I will get all of my material from, but for much of this portion of the course we won't have videos simply because w3schools.com is just fine. If I were to make videos, I would simply summarize what I found on there. So for several of the class days, I'll just say, read this, this, and this on the website, and then class will just be over those sections. So rather than watching a video, you'll spend 20 or 30 minutes going through this website. Anyway, it's a nice resource. Okay, yeah, so as I've said before, the goal of the next few weeks is to build your own static web page, and by static I mean not fancy. Okay, if you want to build a fancy web page, you have to know things like JavaScript, which we're not going to go into. So you're going to build your own page that just displays things. The user's not going to be able to interact with it. There aren't going to be applets in it, things like this. And you're going to build a site about something you're interested in, or maybe for those of you who are graduating soon, maybe you can build a professional web page that sort of would show off to a potential employer who you are and what you can do. Yeah, so we only have 2.5, 3 weeks. So to do real web programming, you need to know things like JavaScript. We don't have time for this. So my goal is not to turn you into a web designer or something. You should just be able to design your own professional website without anything too fancy on it. Okay, so now let's just dive into HTML. What is HTML? That's a great question. HTML is a markup language for describing web pages. So it's just a language that's used to build a web page. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Well, what is a markup language? I don't have a great definition of that, actually. This definition that I've written here is not illuminating at all, but let's just read it. A markup language is a set of markup tags, and each tag gives you different content. So The difference between a language like C++ and a markup language is that C++ sort of does things. Like you can loop, and you can functionize, and you can have if statements. You can do these sorts of things. Markup languages don't do any of that. A markup language just lets you say things like, right here in the page, I want you to say this. And right here in the page, I want you to have a picture. So a markup language is much simpler than a real programming language. There's no like logic embedded in it. It's just you systematically tell it, like, right here I want you to say this, next I want you to say this. So it's almost like Microsoft Word or something. You just have to learn more syntax than you have to use Microsoft Word. Anyway, I think it will become clear as we use it what is meant by this, but it's a different family than something like C++. Okay, so here's sort of your first question you might ask. With C++, I needed a compiler in which to type the code so that the code could run. I assume I need the same for HTML. Well, what does an HTML compiler look like? Well, that is a great question, and it's a good question to ask because we had so much trouble at the beginning of the course getting C++ compilers up and running. I mean, Visual Studio was just freaking out. I still don't quite understand why Studio was having so much trouble. So not to worry though, because you write HTML code in Notepad, essentially. Or if you're on a Mac, you use TextEdit. Just that plain text file. And I should say I use something called Text Wrangler because it color codes things. But that's really all it does. Text Wrangler is like a fancy notepad for HTML. So I can bring up a Text Wrangler window so you can see what it looks like. So here's a Text Wrangler window. It looks just like a notepad file, except notice there's some stuff that's blue and some that's not. Okay, that's all it does. So if you want to download something like that, that's fine. But really all you need is Notepad. So you can go ahead and like wipe your brow, right? There's no issue here. You don't need to download a compiler like you did with C++. Okay, so now let's actually get into coding some things. So markup languages consist of tags. Well, you have to know what tags there are and what they do if you want to program in HTML. So you start your document with this tag, doctype HTML. So anything inside of these braces, less than and greater than braces, is a tag. So you start your document with this so that this notepad file essentially can become an HTML file. So you're telling it, right, this is an HTML document. The content that's visible on the web page goes inside a body tag. Metadata, like the web page name, web page author, etc., goes inside a head tag. And in case it's not clear by metadata, that means information that's not visible on the web page itself, but is visible to something like a search engine. So let me just come here to, this is my Text Wrangler file again. So I have my doctype HTML, and you have to always open your documents with an HTML tag. And here's the head tag. So notice inside of here I have a title tag. So title, this is where I put the title of my page, so you could give this a real title if you want to, right? Like, my page, right? Whatever. Let me now save this. And so, do I have this? Okay, so now let me just bring this up. Oh, here it is. Okay. So if I open this, this is the file itself. It opens in Safari, and notice it says David's page up here, right, in the tab, but it doesn't say David's page anywhere. This just is the web page right now. There's nothing in there really. But notice this David's page is not part of the web page itself. It's metadata. It's something that a search engine can pick up on, but you don't see it in the page itself. Okay. So you can create your own heading if you want. So section headings use heading tags, paragraphs use paragraph tags. You can make links if you want to, and so on. So let me go back here to Text Wrangler and let's look at this again. Notice that almost every tag, there are a few exceptions, but this is an exception here, but almost every tag you have an opening tag. Like here's where you say I'm starting my HTML, and you have a corresponding closing tag. So the HTML stops right there. So the slash denotes a closing of a tag. And here's where the metadata starts. Head tag starts there. It ends right there. So the only metadata I have right now is just my title. And notice I start my title, and then I close my title. This P is a paragraph tag. I open a paragraph, I close a paragraph. So then I can start a new one, you know. If I want headings, I can use something like this. And then I would have to close it. So notice here in the code, you can go from H1 all the way up to H6. The bigger number you have, the smaller the heading is. So let me just put a couple of them in there. Let me now save this. Oh, and by the way, no matter what you're using, you know, Notepad, TextEdit, Text Wrangler, whatever, when you go to save, you want to save like this. You want to call it index, and you want to hard write HTM. So erase whatever's here, index.htm. So you have to tell it this is an HTML file. Save. Okay, so now when I open it, see how my first, this is a heading, is big and bold, right? And then H4 is big and bold also, but not as big, not as bold, right? And in fact, H4 is like the same size as the text. Okay. But anyway, so you can make headers if you want to, headings, whatever you want to call it. On a web page, you can of course make links if you want to. And so here's how a link tag works. You open it with ahref. So the A is telling you like what I'm going to give you now is a link. Then you give it the link you want. Then you close the opening tag. So you've now opened a link tag here. And then whatever text is right here, that's what you click on to go to the link. And then you close the link tag. So let me just put that in here. Okay, so ahref. And you actually do need, you need the quotes, and you do need the HTTP. And you might even need a an S, HTTPS. I'm not sure yet. We'll see if it works. www.joule.edu.com. Okay, that's overkill. I don't know why that's there. Anyway, so here's the link we want. We want, when people click on something, we want it to go to Joule's site. And again, notice how nice Text Wrangler is. It puts the link, it color codes it red. Okay, that's nice. But again, you don't have to do that. This goes to Joule's site. And then when I close this, that means that all of this you can click on. So let me now save this. Oops, where did my page go? Oh, here it is. Okay. No, it didn't do it. I might need like this. The issue might also be that this actually isn't a live web page. I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll come back to this. I'm not sure why this isn't working, but this is the format here. ahref. You do definitely need that, and then you put the link text inside of here, and then close your link tag. So again, we'll figure out what's wrong with that. I'm not sure right now. You can put images inside of your website if you want to. So let's just keep that syntax up. So when you do that though, notice that I just have a folder called My Web Page for Class. Notice that I have an image inside of that folder. So what I'm about to do only works if you have your picture inside of your folder. So let me now get rid of this dysfunctional link tag, and let me now do, so IMG is for image and SRC is for source, and now you give it the name of the file. So in my case it's baby.jpg is what I have in there. And alternate text is for like, I'm not sure exactly what all it's for, but if say somebody is blind and they're looking at your page, if they like hover a mouse over, they can have an option to say this text right here. So like it'll say, I have a picture of my baby here or whatever. And then you give it a width. And I don't remember the units of the width. I assume it's like millimeters, but I guess we'll see here. 142. Okay. And now close it. And so notice that there's there's no closing tag for the image because look, I'm just putting an image in here, right? I don't need to like close the image. The image is what it is, and like it closes itself. So now let's open this and see what it does. Man, this is not doing anything. Okay, it did my headings just fine. Let me just save as. Oops. Like that. Oh, it was just saving it to Google Drive. Okay. Okay, let me actually save it where it's supposed to save it. That is strange. My webpage. Yeah, okay. So that's where it's supposed to go. Oops, and I have to save it as HTML. I didn't do that. So I've now like violated several things that I told you to do. Okay. This is obnoxious. So let me go back. Okay, yeah, go ahead and replace it. Okay. So now let me open it again. So at least it's trying to load an image. Let me put my link back in there. Maybe that's what was wrong with my link. So ahref http Jules website. Link. Let me take out this image thing for now. Okay. So now let's open it. Link. Yeah, so now maybe I need that S. Okay, well, so there are now two things that aren't working the way they are supposed to. So rather than try to fix them now, let me just say that this syntax here is correct. So I'll have to figure out. I'm just going to go to w3schools.com later and try to figure out what's wrong with this. But anyway, so you can put in a link if you want to, and you can put in a an image if you want to, as long as that image is inside of your folder. You can put it in a new line if you want to. You don't have to close this. You just, you know, this just is like a \n command in C++. We've already looked at the title thing. You can include a title. It doesn't show up on the web page itself, but it does show up like in the tab, and search engines will see it. Notice that if you want to, like this is just a title, but suppose that I want the metadata to include things like this. Like I give it a title, but then I also give it a description. So this is a web page I'm making for CompSci. Then I can do that like this. So I can be like, I'm actually not just giving you a title, I'm going to give you a paragraph too. So I've opened a paragraph tab with a title inside of the head tag. So this is all metadata here. And then I just say, you know, this is a web page for class. And then I close that off. So now the title will still appear as David's page. And now somebody like a search engine will see something like this. Or if somebody else goes to your page and they open the source code, they'll see that. So they can see why you made this if you want. You know, you don't have to add things like that, but you can if you want to. Okay, good. So for now, we can't do a whole lot, right? I mean, I didn't want to just throw a bunch of tags at you in the first video, but now, modulo my problems with this link. I'm still not sure what's wrong with that. But you can give it metadata. You can type as much text as you want, you know, with new paragraphs and new lines and things like that with section headings. So you could build a website that looks almost like a Wikipedia page. It's just a bunch of text with images if you want to. Not terribly pretty, but you can actually build a web page now if you want to. A very low level one. So there actually won't be a video after this. I would just refer you to some more w3schools.com material. But for now, this is an introduction to HTML.